Let me just say, since February of this year, hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan citizens have protested the lack of security from rampant crime and violence, an inflation rate that's highest in the world, a scarcity of food and basic consumer goods. But instead of listening to the legitimate concerns of people, the government of Venezuela has responded with a deplorable display of force and brutality that was seen around the world. To date, there have been more than 40 deaths, more than 50 documented cases of torture, more than 2,000 unlawful detentions. And in May of this year, Human Rights Watch released a report on these human rights violations where they documented how Venezuelan security forces systematically violated the rights of students, women, men, members of the political opposition, and journalists. And so, and they said they did so, quote, to punish people for their political views. Just last week, the Venezuelan government opened its show trial against opposition leader and prisoner of conscience Leopoldo Lopez. After spending 5 months in a military prison just for speaking his mind, Mr. Lopez and his attorney were barred from presenting any evidence in his defense. None. No defense allowed. And if that were not enough, we saw that just recent events show that the Venezuelan government is even willing to threaten regional stability to get its way. Last week, law enforcement officials in Aruba picked up Hugo Carvajal, the former head of Venezuelan military intelligence and an individual that was designated as a drug kingpin by the U.S. Department of Treasury back in 2008. When indictments were unsealed last week, the world saw evidence of how a senior Venezuelan government official was deeply involved in the international drug trade, allowing traffickers to operate freely in Venezuelan territory and even coordinating drug shipments himself. So when this official was arrested, what did the Venezuelan government do? It threatened to cut off flights from Venezuela to Aruba and Curacao. It threatened to end a contract with Curaçao's oil refinery, and it moved naval vessels into the waters surrounding these islands. In short, it resorted to every form of blackmail and coercion at its disposition until the Dutch government released Mr. Carvajal. So we should be clear that democracy has had its opportunity. In recent months, foreign ministers from across South America and the Vatican have attempted to mediate dialogue between President Maduro, his allies, and the political opposition, and they have not been able to accomplish. It is time to move more vigorously forward with the type of sanctions and other efforts envisioned in the legislation that I and Senator Rubio have authored. And if we do that tomorrow, we will send a message to the hemisphere and to the people of Venezuela that, in fact, they have a real opportunity to have their voices heard, and we will stand on the right side for human rights and democracy. And with that, Madam President, I yield the floor.